Rich and Mike Show, Flagler County's hometown sports show. Here are your hosts, Rich Carroll and Mike Licio.
Yes, this is another episode of the Rich and Mike Sports Show. Good Saturday morning, Flagler County. And a good Saturday morning to you, Mike Licio.
Hello, Flagler County. Rich, we had a thriller last night at the Ship, didn't we?
It was a thriller of a game Friday night at the Ship. It was a thriller of a week. You had the Yankees knock off the Boston Red Sox. Yes, I mentioned it at the top of the show. Knock off the Boston Red Sox in the third game of their wild card series this week. First time they beat them since 2003, so I'm pumped up about that. I'm pumped up about the New York Jets. No, I'm not. That was... We're probably not going to have a lot of time to talk about that, as the Jets are just pathetic. Maybe a little bit. We'll see. But what I will say is that is a poorly coached team. But the Matanzas Pirates are not a poorly coached team. They went out there in a monsoon last night, Mike. Well, at times. At first, you were calling it Chamber of Commerce weather. The game started with maybe the most beautiful night of the season. It was absolutely gorgeous out there. Nice little breeze, clear skies. You loved it. And the Pirates came out and they played a great game, an exciting game. Mount Dora was there with them every single step of the way. But at the end, it was the Matanzas Pirates with the game-winning drive for the touchdown. And it was the opposition this time making a key mistake to help put the Pirates over the top. But the Pirates, they beat the Mount Dora Hurricanes by a score of 17-13. I think that was the score, right, Mike? 17-13.
Correct.
And, man, it was an exciting, at times bizarre game, because Mike's going to give you the numbers, but just off of memory, Matanzas dominated the amount of plays that they ran, the time of possession, yet this was a one-possession game. As a matter of fact, Mount Dora had the lead late. Mike, it was one of the best games of the season so far.
Indeed it was. And Matanzas, we talk about time of possession and how bizarre the game was. Matanzas ran 47 plays in the first half. Mount Dora ran 13, so that's a total of 60 plays from scrimmage. Last week, the two teams combined in Mount Dora's game had 67 plays, so they almost ran as many plays together in the first half as Mount Dora did the entire game. And in fact, Matanzas had 78 plays from scrimmage. They had the ball for 30 minutes. In the first half, they had the ball for 20 minutes and 11 seconds. Mount Dora had it for 3 minutes and 49 seconds. A 17-minute difference in a 24-minute span. It was absolutely a masterclass by Coach Forrest with the game plan he came up with. I was talking about it on the air. I likened it to Ole Miss last week. Had a 17-play drive where they were still running tempo but controlling the clock at the same time. And that's kind of what happened here. And it was really a great game plan. There were some issues that need to be cleaned up. The red zone was a problem. The Pirates were 3 for 5 in the red zone, but 3 for 5 is not
couple
really
of key penalties down there, a turnover.
Yes, and an interception that Cole Walker, when he watches the tape, he's really going to want to have that one back. By the way, I'll break a little news. Cole Walker asked Ashley Samsell the homecoming, and she said yes. The reason I know that is I was talking to Ashley when he walked up, and I kind of had to shimmy my way out of the way. But that's the kind of news you get here.
How about that? Star softball player. We saw plenty of her games down the stretch last year as the Pirates had one of the most amazing seasons of all time in the program's history, and we were there every step of the way. So Ashley Samsell, that's great to hear. Congratulations to her and the quarterback.
Yes, and it was 10. So back to the football game, it was 10-7 at the half, and it probably should have been 24-7. There was a lot of points Matanzas left on the board there. But then Katie McCoy hits a 42-yard field goal for Mount Dora in the third quarter to tie the game, and that 42-yarder was into the wind. 9:42 left in the game, and we saw one of the most amazing kicking feats we've ever seen.
I mean, it was incredible. And I think even it's immediately shocking. 54-yard attempt that they're lining up for a field goal because there's a monsoon going on. The skies opened up, and it's not normal rain. It's horizontal rain. It's flying into the booth. We're trying to protect the equipment. We're getting soaked. You see the crowd in the stands. Everybody's running, trying to get out of there. And while all of this madness is happening, Mount Dora is lining up for a field goal. And it's not like it's a 20-yard field goal. They're lining up for a 54-yard field goal in this madness, in this monsoon, where everybody's trying to get out of there. Everybody's trying to leave the stands. We're trying to protect the equipment. Meanwhile, Mount Dora is lining up for a 54-yard field goal in this monsoon, and he hits it. One of the most amazing things you'll ever see.
And I talked to Coach Forrest about that after the game, and he said, if I were that kid, I would send that tape to every Division I coach in the nation, and certainly he should. We saw that kid is a weapon. He's perfect on the year in extra points and field goals, and we saw why. And at that point, it was really looking like it was not going to be Matanzas' night. Momentum had shifted. You just had this seemingly miraculous kick made by Katie McCoy. Matanzas gets the ball. They end up turning it over on downs at midfield and give Mount Dora the ball back. And the defense stepped up. The defense got a 3-and-out and got the Pirates the ball back with 3 minutes left. And Cole Walker went to work.
Yeah, he went to work, and he leads the game-winning drive. Some big plays to Ladarian Baker, and Baker, that last route on the slant over the middle, one-on-one coverage. And he, if you're Mount Dora, you got to look back at it on the tape and say you let that happen one too many times with Baker and the one-on-one coverage. He drew a pass interference as well on that. Still made the catch because he was just so physical, stronger than the guys defending him. And Coach Forrest, that was one of the things he was dedicated to. They were trying to get Ladarian Baker involved in the offense early on. So they kept looking his way, kept going to him, kept feeding him like they should. But also you got to bring up Wiley Connor as well. This was the most committed to the running game we have seen the Pirates all year long, at least in the games that we have broadcasted. And they kept running the football. And, Connor did a great job. And Jenkins did a great job when he was spelling Wiley Connor and giving him a break. So overall, the running game was great. They stuck with it. And when it was time for the quarterback to make some plays at the end, Walker made them. And Ladarian Baker, he was special tonight as well. You look up and down, everybody contributed, whether it was Bass making some big catches, some big plays, and Larawan and Schendorf. It seemed like everybody had a key catch or a key moment for themselves in that game. And it was a lot of fun to watch, and it led to a final possession touchdown for the win. Very dramatic and entertaining.
4 receivers had 5 catches. Schendorf had 5 catches for 23 yards. Larawan, 5 for 45. Bass, 5 for 60. Ladarian Baker, 8 catches, 96 yards, and that touchdown. Cole Walker was 6 for 7 for 78 yards on that game-winning drive. Ladarian Baker caught 3 of those for 48 yards, including the game-winning touchdown. And when you think about that, calling a slant there, everything had been a bubble screen, a wide receiver screen to Ladarian Baker, or a go route over the top. And then to have him go for a slant. So I think at that point, the corner is probably just thinking, I don't want to get beaten over the top. And what happens is, even though the field by that point with all the rain had started to have a little give, he ran a great route, and there was no doubt that he was going to get to the end zone. I know you were very excited about it, and it was just a great night. You talk about Wiley Connor, 28 carries, 99 yards. Antoine Jenkins, 12 carries, 69 yards. They ran the ball 45 times for 171 yards, but they also threw the ball 33 times. So they had balance tonight. Cole Walker throwing for 224 yards and that touchdown.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch, and a well-earned victory for the Matanzas Pirates. This is a game last year that they played on the road, and we made that trip down to Mount Dora. And you mentioned it during the broadcast when we brought this up. They had injuries. They had stuff they were dealing with, and Mount Dora won that game rather easily. Other than that, it was a great trip for us, other than the result of the game.
Shout out to Jeremiah's in Mount Dora.
That's right. delicious, as you say. Regardless of the result of the game, we're usually winners at the table, So that was very exciting. But great trip to Mount Dora last year. However, Matanzas lost that game. This year, a little bit of revenge, as not only do they beat Mount Dora, but they beat them in dramatic fashion with the final minute score there. And it was a lot of fun to watch. You got anything else on this game, Mike?
No, I'll just say that next week we'll be at Matanzas again for homecoming against Bellevue as they wrap up their 2-game district schedule. And I can't wait to be there again.
Oh, yeah, 100% cannot wait to be there as the football season continues. It's amazing. It goes by so quickly, and before you know it, it'll be November, and this will be I do think it's a season that we'll remember for a long time because both teams have been competitive, and we've had some fun games. So that's what's going on with the high school football. Next week, we have Bellevue, right, Mike? Bellevue coming to town for the Pirates, as you just mentioned. Sir. So we'll have that. Now, on to some other business. You had a chance to talk to somebody in the business that you look up to. Tell us about that.
So the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have a big game this Monday night. Kansas City comes to town. Don't know if Taylor Swift will be there. I'll just say this about the new album. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I felt like it was just kind of, putting an album out to put an album out.
I'll call you out, Mike. I'm going to call you out now. I'm sorry I have to do this. What's the number one track on the album?
I think the last one, the Life of a Showgirl, is probably my favorite.
Oh, my goodness. Don't try to call Mike out.
I listened to it twice today. I'm not even kidding. My daughter's a big Swiftie. But no word if she'll be at the game or not. So if you want to go get tickets, we'll talk about that in the interview as well. But Brian Sexton, who's the Jaguars senior correspondent, was the original voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars for their first 19 seasons. And I told him off the air, everything I do as far as calling a football game, I stole from him. Because I even went through the play. I said, when you called the play, it was always Jimmy Smith to the left, Keenan McCardle to the right, Willie Jackson in the slot, Mark Brunell is under center, LaShawn Maston the fullback, James Stewart in the backfield. Brunell back to throw, looking downfield, finds Mark Brunell, finds Jimmy Smith downfield, first down, touchdown, Jaguars. He just had this thing, the way he did the game, he framed everything. And it was pretty cool to tell him that. I said, I basically stole everything from you. He said, well, I stole everything else from Kevin Harlan. So he said, that's okay, because we all do it. He says,
everybody has somebody, yeah.
But these are exciting times for the Jaguars, so without delay, let's hear from Brian Sexton on those exciting times from the Jaguars. This is WNZF Radio, Flagler County's home for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Monday Night Football is coming to Everbank Stadium this Monday. This is a matchup you won't want to miss. The Jacksonville Jaguars take on the Kansas City Chiefs under the primetime lights. Don't wait. Be a part of the action. Get your tickets now by visiting online at jaguars.com/tickets or by calling 904-633-2000. Our guest this morning is a man who has been with the team every step of the way, spending 19 years as the radio voice, 8 years as the preseason voice, and the last 11 years as Jaguars senior correspondent. He is the one and only Brian Sexton. Brian,
hey, how are you?
Us. Yes.
I'm great. Thank you for having me. And my wife would tell you there only needs to be one of me.
Yeah, my wife would say the same, but we named my son Michael anyway, so now there's two of us.
Good for you, my friend.
These are good times in Jacksonville, and you've been through them all. And I want to I want to ask you a few questions about yourself as we go through the interview. But let's start with the Jaguars right now, being 3-1, having, I think, a new identity. To me, the physicality of this team is part of the new identity for Liam Cohen. What do you think is the reason for this great start?
Well, listen, he set it down the very first day he was here as the head coach at his introductory press conference. He said he wanted a team that would play, fundamentally sound. They would be attacking. They would become situational masters, and they would be tough. The acronym is FAST. And from the very first game of the season, his team played that way. Cohen has come in with a very high and a very specific standard for what he wants and expects of his football team. And he hired a coaching staff and gave them the charge of how he wanted them to coach and to communicate and to teach the players. And it's been very successful. I mean, the 3-1 start obviously indicates that that's the case. But more than that, and I guess it's because I've been in this building for more than 30 years, 31 as of yesterday, that I understand how difficult it is to put a standard out there and to get to where they are, which is at that standard, so quickly. Now, they're not perfect. We can both go through play by play from the first 4 games of the season and point out things that didn't go well. But the players and the coaches have that standard. Again, fundamentally sound, attacking, situational masters, and tough. They've got that in their forefront. They see it, they live it, they practice to it. And I think that's the reason that things are off to a good start here.
And of course, like you said, there's always things to clean up, and coaches, they don't always admit it, but they love to have those things to clean up. But there's going to be some growing pains, and we've seen some of that already. One of the things I've been surprised by myself is the transformation on the offensive line and how they seem to be playing as a unit so early in their tenure together.
Well, listen, Don Serrett, the new offensive line coach, came in from Minnesota. And they had a very high-functioning offensive line there. So obviously, Liam wanted a guy who knew what it took. But the principal reason why they are able to play so well, they've only allowed 3 sacks, and they have the 3rd best rushing offense in football at 144 yards per game, right? And the reason is they brought in Robert Hainsey, who was the center for Liam Cohen in Tampa. And Hainsey brought the standard, he brought the system, he brought the culture of the Buccaneers offensive line, which played so well, and he instilled it here in Jacksonville. Now, they grabbed a couple of other guys, Chuma Edoga from Dallas, and Patrick McCarry came in from Baltimore. But they put a system down that's gotten the guys that they had and the guys that they brought in on a level playing field, and they're all working together. Hainsey is the quarterback, the coach in that meeting room, and he knows what it looks like, and they have played at a very high level. It's interesting because if you had told me before the season or asked me, what's one thing you can count on? I would say Brian Thomas Jr.'s the thing you can count on the most. And what's the thing that you're most concerned about? I would have said, well, the offensive line, they've got a lot to prove. A month in, it's completely reversed. The offensive line is completely consistent. They're playing at a high level. You can count on them, and we're still waiting for Brian Thomas Jr. to hit his stride. It's funny how things turn out.
It certainly is. And you talk about Brian Thomas Jr., but there's been a couple of additions at wide receiver, Travis Hunter being one of them, of course. But De'Ami Brown, he was a free agent acquisition, and they've also got a first-year GM in James Gladstone. And I think De'Ami Brown has been a great pickup for the team.
Yeah, listen, if he had caught that ball in the end zone in Cincinnati, this team would be 4-0. And that's not to suggest that he has not been a great addition. It's just he's a guy that they brought in because he's got big play ability. We saw that late in the year in the playoff run that the Washington Commanders had. He was a central figure in the passing game for Jaden Daniels. And he will be, before this season is complete, he will be a player who has a say in how explosive the Jaguars offense gets. We're expecting both he and Brian Thomas to at some point get going in this offense with this quarterback. I think maybe it's Monday night, right? Because it's the Chiefs and you're going to have to score points. But Liam Cohen told us 2-3 weeks ago, maybe before the season even began, that it was week 5 before the offense in Tampa last year started to play like it looked when they were in the playoffs last year. In other words, it took a month for them to kind of work through Cohen's system. So hopefully this is the week. But listen, De'Ami is tall, fast, he's got great length, and he's been there. He understands what it takes to play at a playoff level. So he can take some of these younger guys like Parker Washington and Brian Thomas Jr. who have not been there and help them get there.
And I think, to me, the biggest play he made all year was that block he made on that Travis Etienne run that turned a 40-yard run into a 70-yard run. And I think that speaks to the mentality of the team as a whole.
Well, listen, this is a run-first team. It sounds strange to say in 2025 professional football when the league is so tilted towards the passing game, when you've got a quarterback and a wide receiver and spent the money on the offensive line and all of that stuff to help the passing game go. But this team, again, remember the FAST acronym, toughness. Toughness does not come from the passing game. Toughness comes from the running game. And that's what Liam Cohen wants to do. This is a run-first team because it sets up everything else. The Jaguars are running the ball. On the other side, they're stopping the run. When you do those two things, you're going to have success. Now, for Liam Cohen, the very first day he was on the practice field in training camp, he pointed to the wide receivers and said, those guys want to catch the ball, but they're not going to do that until they can block for the running game. It takes all 11 in Liam Cohen's system. It's why he was able to take the Buccaneers from the bottom of the league to the top of the league in rushing offense in just one season. And it's why he's got the Jaguars from the bottom of the league last year to the top 5 a month into this season.
And normally with offensive-minded coaches, they're considered finesse guys. They're considered guys who want to be wide open. I've been impressed with this defense, and I know that has to do with the change in defensive coordinator, but they're physical, they're tough. Josh Hines-Allen's playing to his level, as is Trayvon Walker. It seems like Eric Armstead's figured it out. Foye Oluokun, maybe the most underrated linebacker in the league, is having another standout season. And Jordan Lewis is a thumper. I've been very impressed with this defense so far as well.
Well, and the guy that you didn't mention is Devin Lloyd, who,
Yes.
former first-round pick, he had a lot of tackles, but not a lot of splash plays. Listen, he leads the league with 4 takeaways. He's got 3 interceptions, 2 in the San Francisco 49ers game, and was named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week for his performance in helping the Jaguars win last Sunday out in Santa Clara. This defense has adapted to Anthony Campanile and his system. He is an infectious personality. I told Jaguars fans this week on Jags AM, our show on YouTube, enjoy him while you've got him, because the way he's turned around a defense that couldn't stop anyone in 2024 to a defense that's stopping everyone in 2025 is maybe the story of the season. 13 takeaways. The defense only created 8 last year, and that's a whole season, and they've got 13 in 4 here. There's talent. Anthony has unlocked that. He's put them in a position where they're able to go and make plays, and I think there's a lot more out there. We haven't even really seen what guys like Mason Smith can do. We've gotten glimpses of it. Ventrell Miller, the former Florida Gator, he's a guy who hasn't been able to get on the field because Devin Lloyd has been playing so well. And what about Dewey? I mean, Dewey Wingard, I thought he was a role player. No, he's a starter, and he's playing really well. This defense is fun to watch because it's unexpected. I hope that they might get better week to week and end up somewhere in the middle of the pack, and they're top 10 right now.
They have a test ahead of them Monday night against Kansas City. Kansas City's offense had kind of struggled in the early going of the season, but it seems like they've figured it out. What do the Jags have to do to come out on top on Monday?
They've got to make sure that Mahomes doesn't get comfortable, which sounds crazy to say because, that quarterback is comfortable in almost every setting in his 9th NFL season. It doesn't seem like you can fluster him, but if you hit him, you will. And the Jaguars have the ability, and I'm not sure about Trayvon Walker's availability. Liam Cohen just told us in the last hour that he had a surgical procedure on Monday to deal with the wrist. He is day-to-day. He could play on Monday, but they're not sure. They're obviously going to take it day by day. You've got to make him feel your presence. If he has any comfort at all, you talk about a guy who's been in the same system for 9 years, his mastery of their offensive system and the ability to look at a defense and find the point he wants to attack, it's legendary. It's why he's got 3 Super Bowl wins. The Jaguars have to hit him and make him feel uncomfortable, frustrate him like the Buffalo Bills have done when they've had success against him. He has to be uncomfortable.
I appreciate it. Brian, before you go, I told you a story before we came on the air that one of my favorite memories is my cousin Richie and I was 15, he was 12. We're sitting in my bedroom listening to you give the call on that game-winning kick from Mike Hollis way back in 1996. You've been through it all. You've seen it all. What's your favorite moment in this journey you've had with the Jaguars?
Probably the game after that Buffalo game, going out to Denver and beating that Broncos team that would have won 3 straight Super Bowls. And, the Jags fell behind 12-0 and roared back to win 30-27. And Mile High Stadium at that moment was an erector set. It was a steel superstructure. And the Broncos fans made that thing shake like an earthquake. I mean, you could nothing, because the press box hung underneath it, and nothing would stay on the table in front of you when the Broncos were doing well. And at the end of the game, for it to be completely silent as fans walked out, we got on the plane, we came back, and we buzzed. Then it was Alltel Stadium in the middle of the night, and there were 40,000 fans waiting. That golden age of Jaguars football remains that first block of 5 years, 6 years. And we haven't gotten back to that. But I just have the feeling with Tony Baselli leading the football operation, and Liam Cohen and James Gladstone, those three guys all working together in tandem, in unison, that we are on the cusp of something good, because this team is doing what it takes to win. I don't know what the record's going to be. I can't tell you whether it's going to be 8-9 or 9-8, or I don't know. It's going to be more than 4-13 for sure. But what I do know is that the fundamentals are there. Run the ball, stop the run, take the ball away. They got to get better on third down. But the fundamentals are being put in place for this thing to turn and to be a consistent winner. And don't we all want that?
Absolutely. And just as a reminder, Monday night, the Jaguars take on the Kansas City Chiefs at Everbank Field. If you've never been to a night game at the bank, you don't know what you're missing. I'm telling you to go. Jaguars.com/tickets. Call the ticket office at 904-633-2000. This would be one to experience because it's always a great time under the lights there at Everbank Field. And if you can't make it to the game, listen right here on WNZF. Brian, I appreciate you joining us and wish you best of luck and hope to talk to you again soon.
You got it. Call me anytime.
All right, there he is, senior correspondent, former voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Brian Sexton on WNZF. Great job, Mike, and must be cool to interview one of your heroes.
I'm definitely not ashamed to fangirl. It was really cool, and Brian couldn't have been any more awesome. You know, they say don't meet your heroes, but, you know, I got to meet one of them. Like I said, I you know, different things I've modeled from different people. You know, there's some things in baseball and softball that I stole from John Sterling and Michael Kay, but you know, everything in football was Brian Sexton. He couldn't have been better. And I'm hoping he's right. I'm hoping these are exciting times for the Jaguars. You know, especially for us at the station. You know, we are a Jaguars affiliate and have been for quite some time. So, you know, we love to have great winning on our air like we did Friday night, and hopefully we have it again Monday.
Yeah, hopefully we do. Just a couple things on that real quick. He said the Jaguars have 13 takeaways this year. Do you know how many takeaways the Jets have?
Zero.
And one of my favorite quotes, and I'll actually remember this for a long time. I thought incredible wisdom with what he said here. He said, toughness does not come from the passing game. Toughness comes from the running game. So I thought that was a great job. Thanks again to Mr. Brian Sexton. Our NFL football picks for this week, and maybe a little bit more with a couple minutes left on the Rich and Mike Sports Show after this.
Thank you so much for recommending us to your family and friends. When you need a 30, 60, or 90-minute massage, it's real easy to book your appointment online. MassageByNatalie.org. MassageByNatalie.org.
Get ready. Monday Night Football is coming to Everbank Stadium October 6th. And this is a matchup you won't want to miss. Your Jacksonville Jaguars are throwing it back in their Prowler jersey as they take on the Kansas City Chiefs under the primetime lights. Don't wait. Be a part of the action. Get your tickets now by visiting us online at jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. We can't wait to see you at the bank for primetime football.
Rich and Mike Sports Show, about 60 seconds left here. I am 7-5 on the season with the picks. Mike 3-9, looking up to make up some ground. My three picks here: the LA Chargers -2.5 over Washington, the New Orleans Saints -2.5 over the New York Giants, Detroit -9.5 over Cincinnati. Mike, go.
Same pick for you as you in the Cincinnati game. Colts -6.5 over Las Vegas, and Buffalo -8.5 over New England. I'm not a gambling man, as you can tell.
Anything on the Magic 8 Ball? How did the ball do?
We'll report back on next Saturday.
We'll get to that on the next Rich and Mike Sports Show. Mike, you got 20 seconds. Yankees, Red Sox.
Thank God.
He needed 5 seconds, and you know what? I feel exactly the same way. Hey, a lot of people thought the Yankees would not win that series. They lose the first game. First ever team to lose the first game in this 3-game set in the playoffs and come back to win the next 2. Sets up a very exciting series against the Toronto Blue Jays, who have talked a lot of smack over the last couple of months. Their broadcast just said the Yankees are not a good team. Well, now we're going to really find out in October baseball as the Yankees move on to take on the Toronto Blue Jays in the division round. I am pumped up about that. We'll be watching that this afternoon. All the football tomorrow. Congratulations to the Matanzas Pirates on the victory. We'll be there next Friday for district play against Bellevue. Have a fantastic weekend, Flagler County.